Maswati lamahle sesinaye phambi kwethu longangemmeli wabo bahlonishwa Mr Mngomedulu. Atosichazela kabanti ukuthi lamuhla njengoba besadi ukuthi bekuchubeka lona licala bahlonishwa. Utositshela ke Mr Mngomedulu manje ukuthi kuhambe kanjani lamhla enkantolo. Mr Mngomedulu nawe Maswati aselayinini. Ungawachazela Maswati ukuthi uhambe kanjani enkantolo icala bahlonishwa.
Asiqale ngikubonga Maswati lamahle ukuthi siphindze sikhulume nani namhla siyalithokozela lelithuba lesilethelwa ngeSouthern Democratic News naletinye intatheli nakulamanye amaphephandaba. Njengoba bese sike sachaza itolo siphindze sabiyela ke enkantolo namhla la khona kade sifake iapplication ukuthi bahlonishwa sicela ukuthi bakhishwe kulandzela phela sibe sesilalele bonke ubufakazi the prosecution onke ma-witnesses sekalalelo. So we made an application in terms of section 174 in terms of which application we were saying now that the judge has heard everything that purports to be the evidence of the prosecution, we are of the view that there is nothing that links the accused persons, which are our clients, the MPs, to any of the offences that they are alleged to have committed, and that on the strength of the evidence that has been presented thus far, as far as we are concerned, they have got no case to answer. So that application is already before the courts. We have filed all the relevant papers pertaining to that. There was just a slight technicality that we also had to deal with today that relates to an amendment or a purported amendment by the prosecution, in terms of which they are trying to amend two of the charges. Labekwe bahlonishwa lokung charge 1 na charge number 4. Charge 1 sitawukhumbula ukuthi uphathelene ne-terrorism. Charge number 4 uphathelene nemhlonishwa bacede where it relates to the violation of COVID rules. So the judge has not made any judgment as far as that is concerned, and the judge has asked that we make supplementary submissions with regards to that, and then he will make a decision with that, and then simultaneously also consider the application for discharge in terms of section 174. Nokwendekileke ukuthi ke sitawuthola ke i-outcome yayo le application yethu li-judge lithe within the first week or the second week of July. Lokusho ukuthi kusukela namhla masingabheka nje ngicathi mhlambe mid July ngeke andlule singakayitholi ijudgment lesho ukuthi are we getting the discharge or not.
Lokunye kafishane Mr Mngomedulu mhlawumbe nje eMaswati afuna kwathi isimo sabo bahlonishwa njengoba nje bokhona lapha simo ubabone banjani bangilabaphilile yini futhi ke nalokunye Maswati kumbata ufuna kwathi ukuthi ngabe bahlonishwa sole bemile yini kula magaba labawasho ukuthi eMaswati afuna ukukhethela yena prime minister, kumbe ungacacisa nje nakuloko Mngomedulu ukuthi bahlonishwa bakashintshi.
Yes, no, lesingacacisa ukuthi when bahlonishwa they made the call that they made for the reforms which were supposed to be constitutional by nature. They made that call in their capacities not only as citizens of this country but also, and most importantly, as members of parliament duly elected by their respective constituencies. And so for that reason they've got no reason to deviate from that call or to abandon that call, because when they made the call for democratic reforms, in particular that there should be an elected prime minister, they did so acting on the mandate of the people that voted for them to go to parliament. So it is not up to them really to tiptoe around this issue to decide whether they are going to persist in this call or not, because it was not out of their own accord, but it was acting on the basis of what the constituencies wanted. And as you now know, the call that they've made obviously resonated with the broader masses of this country, and we think that is a welcome development. And we want to assure the Swazi nation that they stand firm on the calls for democratic reforms that they made, and they believe, and we believe just like they do, that there is nothing in the call that they have made that was either terrorist or terroristic in nature. There is nothing that even amounts to sedition or anything that can be construed as having been seditious, and that there was no act of murder whatsoever, as it is alleged by the prosecution. So, for that reason, they are not going to deviate from that call. We want to assure the authorities of this country that the members of parliament stand very firm, they remain very encouraged, their spirits are certainly not broken. We have also noted that the political parties of this country are out and about. There's a great deal of robustness and political activism and enthusiasm that we are witnessing across the country, and the parties are continuing to open branches each and every weekend. And we want to say that we encourage that. As a matter of fact, we want to see more of that. More and more of eMaswati must continue to organize. eMaswati siyawacela, they must go and join political parties. It is your right to join a political party and to participate in the activities of a political party, because the reforms that we are calling for, it is not only that there should be an election of a prime minister or a head of state. We are equally calling for the opening up of the political space so that political parties can participate on an equal footing as voted for when the time comes by eMaswati in general. And therefore, they must go and associate. It is their right to associate. It is their right to mobilize and organize. They must join political parties across the length and breadth of this country. They must join. There's a lot of political parties. We've got about 9 of them. eMaswati, they are free to go and join political parties. But having said that, I must hasten to add, Mhlanga, that Umhlonishwa Baqede naMthandeni, I have said this before, they are not members of any political party as yet. As you would know, when they went into jail, they were serving as members of parliament, acting for their respective constituencies. They had not applied themselves as yet or at the time to the question whether they will join this or that political party. So as far as they are concerned, they are not there yet. They are just facing the cases that they are currently facing. And I'm sure that once they are out, because we believe they are going to come out, they will then make a pronouncement out of their own accord as to what happens to their respective political futures. But we must reiterate that they are not members of any political party. They have not mandated anybody to open a political party on their behalf. Neither have they asked for any positions to be reserved for them, such that then when they are out, they will join or they will go and take up those particular positions. Basese ngibo nje njengoba nabathi eMaswati lamahle bangakangeni phela nasejele.
Ngometulu eMaswati lana afuna kwathi ukuthi ingabe simo sabo bahlonishwa babukeka bangilabaphilile imvele nje isimeni sabo.
Baphilile bahlonishwa, baphile kakhulu nakusasa nje ngidawuphinze ngibabone khona ngakhona ngale jele kude lokubi labakubikile. Yebo kona phela njengoba sathi sihlale sisho ejele akusilula. Ejele phela noma ungahlala ilanga linye nje akusinzawo lemnanzi futhi akusinzawo lelula kangako. Kodwa nje kulo 10 months almost lese bamhleli basesengilaba nje lenibadiko eMaswati lamahle. Even ne rhetoric yabo nekukhuluma kwabo kuyachaza ukuthi they remain unshaken and their spirits remain very upbeat. We believe that we are going to have them released. We have got no doubt in our minds that there will not be another Mbezi who unfortunately had to remain in jail for so long. We are doing the best that we can to make sure that they come back home soonest. But we see that, the state or the prosecution, they are throwing each and every stumbling block or roadblock on before us to try and make sure that the case doesn't get to finality or the judge doesn't apply herself to the merits of the case. But we are going to continue to touch those efforts and we'll fight those efforts. Doesn't matter how long it takes, but we believe that we'll get them out without a doubt.
Lokunye Mr. Mgometulu eMaswati afuna kwathi ukuthi kukhona yini lokulungiswako etindzabeni ukuthi eMaswati akhone ukuthi akhululeke atosupporta bona abahlonishwa. Utakhumbula nje Mr. Mgometulu khona lamuhla sithole itindzaba khona la kwekuthi emalunga eEFF avinjwe khona endleleni lapho khona kube nekudutshula lokho kwentekile lapha emkhathini wemaphoyisa adubula khona azama kujikisa wona emalunga e-EFF Swaziland labeka libhekise khona eMbabane ekutosupport bona abahlonishwa. Sibonile nalapha ngaphandle Mr Mgometulu amaphoyisa azama ngakho konke lokusemandleni ukuthi kude lobonakala asonza letutane nenkantolo kutosupport wona emalunga eParliament la khona lapha ngekhathi. So Mr Mgometulu kumbe ungacacisa eMaswatini ukuthi kukhona iniveleleni kulungisako kule tuti inhlangothi leto.
Well, as far as I know, the Constitution of Swaziland remains effective, and the rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution, they still should be enjoyed by Onke Maswati. And therefore, where they are not violating any laws of this country, should not be blocked by the armed forces. But of course, what is happening is that you've got a state that has gone rogue. You've got a police force that has gone rogue. You've got a state that is really on autopilot, rudderless, without any control, where the police forces or the armed forces are doing as they please, without any consequences. And we think this is regrettable. But this is precisely what the MPs and the mass democratic movement has been fighting for in this country. That we need to be a country of laws. One of the things that is very important, and I think Swaziland is a very classical case for those who need to understand this, is the primacy or the importance of the rule of law. It is a very, very important concept, because if you are in a country where the rule of law is not supreme, where the constitution is not supreme, these are the type of tendencies or the type of things that you begin to see. This is the level of impunity that you begin to witness in a society like Swaziland. And this should serve as a demonstration as to why each and everybody in this country has to rally behind the calls that are being made for the reforms that we are calling for, which are going to result in a democratic dispensation. So we regret that fact that there's been a shootout, and we think it is unfortunate to the extent that somebody else might have been hurt. But we want to reiterate the call that we have made again to the police in particular. Really, before it is not necessary to be shooting at your own brothers and sisters. It is absolutely not necessary, especially where you have seen now there's reprisal attacks, where others are beginning to take the law into their own hands, and you are making it difficult for us to even begin to condemn such activities, because how else do you condemn people that have resorted to self-defense? How do you even condemn self-defense, for instance? I mean, others have been calling on us to say something about the fact that some police have been attacked or some soldier has been attacked. Well, first of all, we say the police must investigate those type of things. We know nothing about it. But in the event that people are resorting to take the law into their own hands, why should we blame them? Because it is the police that are brutalizing people when they have not broken any law. Why should we condemn that when the head of state and the powers that be in this country, they see nothing wrong with people being dragged out of buses and minibuses and being shot at for no apparent reason? Why should we condemn people when they resort to take the law into their own hands, when people are being refused entry to come into court, when we all know that a court has to be an open platform where everybody must come and engage? So we cannot condemn people exercising their right to self-defense until such time that the powers that be find it necessary to condemn the killing of innocent Swazis which were killed by this regime, by the armed forces of this regime, commanded by their commander-in-chief, whom they know very well who it is, and there's been no consequences for that. So we think it is unfair that there would be an expectation that we should condemn those people who are defending themselves when the entire state apparatus, with all the state resources, it is being channeled towards brutalizing innocent and unarmed Swazis.
Siyabonga Mr. Mgometulu, isikhathi sakho ungavalelisa eMaswatini.
Siyabonga kakhulu Maswati lamahle, isikhathi siyazivele ngathi sesikhuluma ipolitiki kakhulu kanti sibameli, but we have to do that. And the reason is not very difficult to understand. I studied at the University of Swaziland. One of the things that we studied there was sociology and political science. It is because those who designed the curriculum at the time understood that you cannot be a lawyer that is not socially conscious. You cannot be a lawyer that is not politically conscious. It is therefore important that whilst you are practicing law, you are open to the entire spectrum of the societal dynamics as they manifest themselves around you. So unfortunately, we have to talk politics. In any event, my clients are in jail because of politics. I am attending court each and every day, attending a political show trial, where even those that are prosecuting, or should I say persecuting my clients, they know very well that they are innocent of all the charges that they have been charged with. So we have to talk politics, we have to talk law at the same time. So ndasixolela, it is what it is. Thank you very much.
Maswati lamahle eceleni kwami nginaye Hayinshongwe utekto introducer yona incwadi masinyane nje utawuvela khona eceleni kwalonganga Mmeli Mgomedulu. Lencwadi ke Maswati lamahle ngicabanga ukuthi ummeli Mgomedulu utawuchaza kabanti ngayo lencwadi nokuthiwa itawufuzwa ngebo bahlonishwa bethu.
Siyabonga kakhulu mfundisi Shongwe, thank you very much. Umfundisi upha abahlonishwa ke na incwadi Maswati lamahle ungayichaza nje mfundisi ukuthi ikhuluma ngani?
Okay. Siyabonga Maswati lamahle. Lena ncwadi njengoba niyibona ibhaliwe ukuthi Religion and Politics in Swaziland. Sifuna kuyiniketa abahlonishwa bethu ukuthi basese etilongweni ejele. They must keep themselves busy by reading this book. It is a very rich book that speaks to the religion and politics of Swaziland. And I want to also emphasize this to the Church of Eswatini, that they need to read about politics and religion. They must know the stand of God in politics and religion. Ngulungulu is a God who takes sides. He doesn't become neutral. Unfortunately, he takes a side of the poor and the marginalized and oppressed. So the Church of Eswatini should stop being ignorant about the scriptures. They must know what God wants and expects. He wants righteousness, he wants that there should be peace, and he wants people to live ngekuthula emhlabeni. There should be no oppression of one another. I'm also challenging those who are in the status quo, the powers be, that also this book is for them. They must read this book so that they know ukuthi bantu baphathwa njani, bantu baNkulunkulu. We are all under the authority of God. We must all respect God. The only authority lesiphethe emhlabeni, it is God, not any human being. We must not respect any human being above God. So ngifuna kusho njalo Maswati akithi ukuthi let's empower ourselves with information, with the correct information. We know ukuthi lisondo lakangwane, they are pushing a certain narrative, a wrong narrative, but people must get the truth of God. Kuze batobona umbuso wezulu. Amen.
Siyabonga kakhulu ke mfundisi ngayiniketa abahlonishwa khona ejele senivile ke bafundisi, you have to take sides usho njalo umfundisi Hayinshongwe la because awukwati kuba neutral in the face of injustice. I'm a lawyer that has taken a side, knowing very well that there will be a lot of backlash. But I have taken a side. I have taken a side to be on the side of the poor, the marginalized, the downtrodden. I am a person that grew up very poor. I know what poverty is. I know what it is for opportunities to be closed in your face. And these are the sort of things that we are seeking to reform in this country. And therefore, siyabonga kakhulu ke, take a side Maswati. Wonke umuntu sizakakhetha side. Ayikho nje lenve ukuthi kutawuthiwa unity kube kodwa kubhizi kucilatwa abantu kuze kube cinzetelwa abantu. We cannot have unity in Mswati's terms. We must have unity in our own terms as Swazis. So that is what we are calling for. Siyabonga kakhulu Maswati lamahle ngayipresenta kubahlonishwa. Sethembe ukuthi ngeke bayikhiphe le ukhona le emhlonishwa Mthandeni lesi long walk to freedom labayithatha lapha ya Nelson Mandela, kodwa sitayifaka kusasa ejele le. Siyabonga. Amandla. Aluta continue. Thank you very much.
Maswati lamahle sesivele ke kubo bona abahlonishwa bethu sibonga isikhathi sethu Maswati lamahle kusibeketelela sesifike emaphethelweni alona usuku lalamuhla siyabonga kakhulu Maswati lamahle lo hleli naye nguye sicelo wakamhlanga intatheli yakwa Swaziland Democratic News.